stretch. We did start talking about the bounce, fall away, and foxtrot last time. You have done this a few years ago in your showcase. A little rough, but we did it. Let me go over today the rise and fall, and I think we'll look at the chart also. The chart can be really helpful on this. I will exaggerate it a little bit. Sometimes when you see dancers do the bounce, fall away, you don't really see the bounce. The bounce is referring to this soft lilting up and down cushion that we're getting. We're not lowering all the way to put the heel down on the floor. What we are doing is we're allowing that action we talked about last week when we worked on the top spin, of pushing that Nerf ball down under your heel. But we're adding to this now, softening through the leg. So it is a bit of a lowering, but it's not a true lowering where you're contacting down to the floor with the weight going down into the heel. So you will see the footwork after step one is listed as toe throughout, and then toe heel as you complete the feather finish, and heel as you take the next step. I may have confused you by using the three-step. What I wanted you to feel on the three-step was how you rise from heel to toe on the right foot, and then you're up and you come down at the end of the next step. That is a lilting type of a rise. Now in the three-step, of course, there's no bounce, because once we've done it one time, we move on as normal. If I were to do those actions twice, then we have a bit of a bounce. In the case of the bounce fall away, we have a rise going in and then turning and we're going back. So one thing you might practice then is switching to the left foot. I think doing it on the right foot in a three-step is probably what confused you. Just to get this rise action, roll from the heel to the toe, maintain your height, and then cushion on the next step. What I'm doing though is I'm making sure I don't come all the way down into a lowering action. Heel to toe, two toes, soften the knee, let the heel go towards the floor, and then move to the toe again. That's the type of rise and fall that we're doing on the bounce fall away. This is very different than the fall away reverse, so you do have both of them. In the fall away reverse, we're dancing into a reverse pivot or a slip pivot. In the bounce fall away, we are achieving fall away, changing into a weave. I think for today I will not go into all the details of the position changes. We have to manipulate the lady to move to fall away and then back into the parallel position. But we will discuss the alignments. Now if you go back and look at the video that I did with Matt and Kathy, at least one, there may be more than one, on this figure, I showed the difference in the man's alignment, the lady's alignment, and we talked about some of the things that are important there. Let's go into a little bit more detail on the rise. I'll try to make it really small in this space, and then we'll talk about the alignment. So I'm entering on the heel of my left foot, rising up, turning, and softening. Then you're taking the fall away position, you're going back up. We're commencing the weave, we're coming back down. Again, it's not a full lowering. The heel is looking for the floor, the knee is relaxing. The lady will be outside partner on the next step. So I'm still up, but I'm not, again, up in this stiff position. From here, it is a feather finish. I probably danced off camera for that, but of course you know what the feather finish is. So it's rolling up, cushioning, and up again. So you get those two slight hills. I'm going to use my right leg to help to project me across that foot, catching it on the other side. Now that unique rise, and the fact that we're going to rise again, is why we use that particular rhythm that you see in the charts that we talked about, counting it slow and quick. Sometimes when we're teaching the figure in the beginning, we may just count 8 quicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's some value in doing that because when you were doing it on your own, you were doing only 6 steps. And there's always those 8 steps in the weave, or 8 steps in the bounce fallaway and weave, and then a slow coming out. So what is the slow and? Well, we know in foxtrot that a slow is equal to 2 beats of music. We also know that in the bounce fallaway, the second beat is actually on the second step. But we want this rhythmical feeling, we want this lilting rise that we're rolling through the foot. So we're going to take roughly 1.5 beats. We're going to make our first quick longer than normal, and we're going to make our second quick shorter than normal. So if I want to split hairs, let's say I do a 1.5, a half, and from here on, this will be an even quick, or 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat. Now, it's easier to get the feel of anything that's rhythmical, really, than to try to count out 1/2, and so it's slow and quick. If you can sort of sing it, slow and quick. You can see that I'm getting that rise again on step 3. Heel toe, lift again, and soften. Heel toe, here's the first bounce. Softening, letting the knees go. Then you're up, and you're up, coming down, but not all the way down, and now you're continuing on into the weave. The lady will do the same thing. So we'll see her footwork on step 1 in the charts is toe, heel, toe. That tells us that there is a rise at the end of that step. So she's moving back, but she will not roll through her heel. She'll rise at the end of that step with you. And from there on, she will do the same footwork as you with the toes, but with varying levels of rise and fall. Now, the importance of the alignment, what happens to most of the men is they overturn both their body and their feet. So what happens many times is the men will start moving down the line of dance on step 3. With the weight falling back, now the shoulder weight is dumping. My girl is now trapped. I become square. There's no space for her to go outside partner when it's time. I may end up dancing the whole thing back into the room or into the other line of dance. It's really counterintuitive for you to do the correct alignment, but it's very, very important. So on steps 2, 3, and 4, the alignment will be backing diagonal wall, will not be backing line of dance. So we're going to start moving towards backing line of dance on the next step and into the feather finish. So I'm starting DC and arriving on step 2 with my little cushion, backing diagonal wall. This is where I don't want to be in trouble. I want to make sure that I maintain that. Now my spine is moving, DC, and a little bit in the line of dance. But my center now is still, as much as possible, with my girl and not flattened out. So she's back and fall away. Now I'm going to start changing the position of the lady. So you notice I have not changed the alignment of my feet. Most of the time the men will at this point become flat and start rolling through their heels. DC, backing diagonal wall, backing diagonal wall, backing diagonal wall. Now I'm commencing to move down the line of dance with my body turning less, and by the time I begin to dance my feather finish, I'm now going to be backing line of dance and carry on. So we'll cover just briefly the difference in the lady's alignments, where her feet are, and then we'll talk next week a little bit about how to achieve that. This is it's a very subtle lead, and it's very tricky for the men to do it. But if you haven't got your own alignment, you're going to definitely have some trouble when you try doing it. So she's moving into fall away position with that same rise and fall. Here's her up. Now, because of the movement across the floor of the spine and the way you're going to give her space in the arms, she should land in a pointing alignment, pointing down a line of dance. Her body is matching yours. You're backing diagonal wall. So her body turning less than her feet puts her in this position. From here, she'll be able to step outside partner. Common fault for the girl, that many times we can blame the man, but we also have to have our girls trained. So common fault for the lady will be to continue with her foot somewhere in this position of diagonal wall. She'll begin to fall here and have no space to prepare the outside partner. Now, how do we know that? Well, we have to be trained both as man as lady. We've talked about this many times. When you're on the inside of the turn, where the legs are apart, you will have a pointing alignment with body turning less. We need to learn to open our hip and shape our leg and foot so that then our body can complete the turn. When we're on the outside of the turn, moving forward, this is when we will have foot swivel and a continuation of turn. So we're coming back to those fundamentals again of being on the inside of the turn, the outside of the turn, who does a pointing alignment, body turning less, who has a foot swivel. I'd like to touch on those things that are common to so many of the figures that we're working on. Now, I have not scratched the surface of all the many things we can talk about on the bounce fall away, but I think for this week, the rise and fall and the position of the feet, and hopefully the rhythm. The rhythm works together with the rise and fall. It's very important that you sort of understand that together. So we're going to take a look at the chart so that when you do take a look, it won't be confusing for you to use that as a helper. The bounce fall away here in the foxtrot chart, that is figure 25, and it's on page 72. And let's look at the alignment here. Facing DC, backing diagonal wall, moving down the line of dance. So that's the movement of the spine, and that's going to happen, I hope, automatically. And then on step 3, back and fall away is also backing diagonal wall and moving down the line of dance. So you are, as I said, going to move down line of dance without any particular effort. Just keep the continuity of the spine moving. Just don't overturn your feet. Then you're still backing diagonal wall with the right foot to the side and slightly back. Now that is the position for preparing for the lady to go outside. You can see then when the left foot goes back in CBMP, the lady is now outside partner. At that point, you will be backing the line of dance. Now the body will be turned a little bit less. This is not mentioned in the chart, but that is because the lady is outside and you're keeping your center to the lady. Then of course we have the 6 to 9. That's the basic weave finish and the slow coming out of it. So here we're going to look at the rise and fall. Now it says up and then lower at the end of 2, but when we look at the footwork, you will not see that as a toe heel. That's because it's a lowering action without a full lowering through the feet. Rise at the end of 1, up on the second step, and then lower at the end of that step. You enter down and you rise up, then you're up and you lower at the end of 4. Then you're down and you will rise at the end of 5. But if we look at the footwork here, we're looking at the men's positions there, footwork. You see only a heel toe on step 1 and a toe heel on 8, which is the right foot going through in the feather finish. So throughout it's toe, 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 but there is a cushioning in the foot and there is a softening of the knee. We'll talk maybe a little bit next week about some of the other things on here, the CBM and so on. Look at the timing, slow and quick. Okay, I was thinking that they broke that down somewhere for you. Yes, beat value. Okay, so your slow is normally 2 counts, 2 beats. We're doing 1 1/2, a half, and from there on 1, 1, 1, 1, or even. The 2 beats, that's the slow on the left foot, which would take you into the following figure. And then if we go down into the ladies part, you'll see here where she commences backing diagonal center. And then when she goes into fallaway, she's also moving down the line of dance. But then what happens to her, you see the pointing to the line of dance and then the facing line of dance. That's where she has her pointing alignment. Of course, the timing is the same and the beat value would be the same. Then you'll see in her footwork the toe, heel toe on step 1, that indicates a rise for her. And then she's up throughout until she goes into the feather finish. So in the feather finish, it's important for her to roll through the heels on the feather finish, and the toe on step 9, again, that is the commencing of the slow of the next step out. So those are the things we'll focus on this week on the bounce fall away and weave ending.